Hey Ben, we're back.
We're back in it for another episode. Very excited for this one. We've covered some fantastic whiskies in the past, and now we're moving on to something a little bit different in this episode. I think a firm favorite within South Africans, but I think also within the party culture, is tequilas. And so we've got a couple of fantastic tequilas lined up today, and let's see how it goes. Aidan, what do we have here? I think I'm fairly familiar with the Rooster Roco here in the middle, but I think let's unpack what we've got and where these come from and what makes these tequilas so great.
Let's just start out with a basic explanation of what tequila actually is. I get asked all the time about good tequilas, and what I would like to start with first of all is to say that in South Africa, for a large part, we don't have a great tequila culture. I'll explain how it works. First of all, we're used to not drinking very high quality tequilas. That's kind of become the norm. So Jose Cuervo Gold, for example, is globally considered to actually be quite a low quality spirit. It doesn't have a particularly good flavor profile. It's got a massive hit of alcohol up front, and frankly, it's kind of unpleasant. They do make a better quality bottle called Jose Cuervo Especial. If you're ever going to buy Jose Cuervo, I would rather recommend that you choose that. It's a little bit more expensive, maybe 100 Rand more bottle. It's much nicer, much nicer. And not only do we drink on average fairly low quality tequilas, or we have in the past, but we have this thing in South Africa where we drink them as shooters, which is sometimes a little bit like, kind of like young and bold, for guys my age, it's sort of a past thing in my life. Yeah. And often they take the tequila, it sits behind those nasty warm bar lights, so you ask for your shot, it comes out, it's more than room temperature, it's like the same temperature as those neon lights behind the bar. They pour it, and then you have to have a lemon and a salt afterwards, and you kind of like, that's not really pleasant. That shouldn't be how, it's just not nice, Ben.
Yeah, I'm glad that you've mentioned that, because I think that's sort of, in your younger years, that's what you're introduced to. So tequila is very much a shooting drink, and later on you hear that you can actually sip tequila, but no one wants to be sipping, a low quality type of tequila. Should it be cold? Should it be room temperature? What's the best way to, one, prepare, a tequila, and two, how should it be consumed? Is it something that can be consumed on ice? Is it something that's mixed with other beverages to make it, a little bit more bearable? How should we sort of take on our consumption of tequila?
Well, look, naturally, if you're looking for a little bit of a party and you want to get things kicked off, there's nothing wrong with having a tequila shooter. For a responsible adult, doing that, drinking responsibly, that's absolutely fine. Having said that, if you are going to do it, you want it to be a little bit more pleasant. So the first thing to ask the barman for, or if you're doing it at home, always make sure that the tequila is chilled. So at a minimum, it should be chilled to, in my opinion, should actually be frozen. So these three bottles, for me in particular, and bearing in mind, I'm not necessarily a tequila guy, I'm more of a whiskey guy. But for me personally, when I'm drinking tequila, I like it to be ice cold. It actually goes slightly syrupy when you chill it. It changes the viscosity. You get a better mouth feel, in my opinion. And it's easier to pick out the nice floral notes, because that's what you're getting from tequila. Remember, it's made from a nice flowering plant. A cactus is actually a beautiful flowering plant, and you get that floral bouquet that comes through in the tequila tasting notes. Yeah. And it really helps to have it chilled. Nothing wrong with pouring it over a little bit of ice as well. I know some people that sip it in a similar way that they would sip certain whiskies, or maybe a brandy over a couple of blocks of ice. That is an absolutely beautiful way to drink a good quality tequila. You can really pick out all the flavors and get to understand the product more intimately like that.
Brilliant. I think you mentioned something quite interesting there, and in the vague knowledge that we all possess around tequilas is that it comes, one, from Mexico. So I wanted to know, does all tequila come from Mexico, and is all tequila made from the cactus plant?
All tequila will come from some variety of cactus or other, but in specific, high quality tequila, the real deal, will always use agave cactus. That will be the input ingredient of choice for their mash bill. And I have to agree that you always get the highest quality product when made from real 100% agave. So when you have a look at high quality products like this, or say something like Herradura or Fortaleza, tequila, you'll always find that on the back of the bottle, they very proudly stamp 100% agave tequila. Now, you'll get some cheaper manufacturers that will mix. They'll use other cactus inputs and they'll mix it in to bring down the price. That's not ideal for me. You always look for something that says 100% agave. And again, like the whiskies, I always avoid things that have, say, artificial colorants in or added flavorants, because that's usually added in to kind of hide the nastiness of the product itself. So you find the better quality guys, it's a purer product.
Okay. On the note of colors, so we've got three great looking tequilas over here, but of varying colors. I imagine that none of these have got artificial colorants or flavorants in there. What is the fundamental difference between each of the three that's lined up in front of us?
This is actually what tequila looks like as it's done distilling, like as it comes through the distilling system.
Okay, so a clear liquid is what you'd get at the offset.
100%. And when you taste this, it's a much more simple flavor than something like this, for example. What they do, this is exactly the same as this. It's, instead of going straight into the bottle, Blanco, this is called Blanco White, this has gone into a barrel, and usually for anything from 1 to say sort of 6 months, it's usually around 3 months for a Reposado. And what you can see is, it's actually taken on to some extent the age of the barrel, the coloring of the barrel with its age. With these guys over here, this is Anejo, which is aged. So instead of being in the barrel for 3 months, this is something like 6 months, maybe up to a year, depends on the manufacturer. And you can see that this goes much darker and it gets a much more rich color and a more complex flavor because it's been in the barrel longer. Now, one of the things people say to me all the time, because tequilas are fantastic for mixing cocktails. One of the best ways to drink tequila is in a cocktail. It really is. I mean, you just get this beautiful flavor. It makes a wonderful mixer. And people say to me, Aidan, is this the one for mixing or is this one for sipping neat? They're all for sipping neat and they're all for mixing at this sort of level.
What a diverse drink then.
100% at this sort of level, they are all the same. And these obviously will all come from Mexico. To use the name tequila, like champagne or feta, it has to come from a certain region or it has to be given copyright permission. You can't get it unless you produce inside Mexico and unless you obey certain production regulations of the Mexican government. Okay. So if you get a tequila made in another country or a tequila-like product, like in South Africa, we have some beautiful South African-made products where they're made exactly the same way as in Mexico, but it's made locally using local ingredients. They cannot call it tequila because of the copyrights. So they will call it something like agave spirit. So there's a little distillery in the Cape of South Africa called Hope. If you ever have an opportunity, go to their website, check them out. They do agave spirits or tequila-like spirits. They do a rum, they do a vodka, and you'll see that they don't use the name tequila, but they make unbelievably high-quality products. Definitely check their website out. They make slightly smaller size bottles. It makes a fantastic gift, a fantastic weekend pour. The last thing I would add in is you get something called mezcal. It's a kind of tequila. It comes from an even smaller, more exclusive region of Mexico, and that will have a deep smoky flavor. It's almost like the peated, smoky flavor of the tequila world, and the reason it has that smoky flavor is because of the fact that they actually bake the cactuses in these enormous ovens for several days. They smoke them out before they actually turn them into alcohol. These guys won't smoke as much, and so it doesn't have the heavy flavors of mezcal, but both mezcal and tequila must be made in Mexico.
Okay. And on that, I want to take us through the first one. I think, should we start with the Blanco?
Nice and easy, Ben.
White spirit.
This one, as I say, they're all good for mixing cocktails, but this is the one of the most common ones people use for mixing. Okay. It's a brilliant everyday sipper. So you'll try it now, you'll see it has a really nice, easy flavor profile. Just nice, easy sipping.
Okay.
So right off the bat, I mean, I just get that straight hit of cactus. It kind of reminds me of when I was walking through like aloe fields as a child, like hiking in those like Magaliesberg areas where there's lots of aloes. It actually smells like a flowering aloe. It smells
like a plant, yes. Like 100% get that flavor there.
You get a little bit of a kind of a chlorophyll smell on the nose there. That's obviously from the plants. It's a little bit of a chemical flavor, but it's actually really pleasant. Now this has a fantastic mouth feel to it. So as it coats the mouth, it doesn't have a kind of harsh pepperiness to it that I experienced a lot from, say, certain whiskies, like younger whiskies. I don't know what you think of that, Ben.
I quite enjoy that. I think, given how we've consumed tequilas in the past, your immediate reaction would be to almost like put a face, but you don't get that at all. There's a slight sweetness that happens when you first consume it and it stays in the mouth, and then there's a lovely aftertaste when it goes down. A little bit stronger, but a fantastic sipper. Again, I might even consider having this on ice. But yeah, very refreshing actually.
Yeah, it would be a wonderful drink to pour over a couple of glasses of ice, and with this in particular, I get a wonderful nose on tequila. So after I've taken the initial sip, I just get this amazing nose kind of profile that comes through. It just tastes really good on the back of the palate. These bottles are actually fairly new in the South African market. I started seeing them more or less a year ago, rocking up on shelves. And I find this to be amazing value for money. So there is a website that I use sometimes called tequilamatchmaker.com that rates all international tequilas. And for its money, this is highly rated by the connoisseur market. It's widely available. That all the most expensive of the three is under 500 Rand a bottle. I think around 450 Rand. This is around 350 to 400 a bottle. Obviously, the longer they age, the more expensive they'll be because you've got to pay for the barrels and the aging process. And this is now starting to be really widely consumed in the South African market. And I have a feeling that in the next 5 or 10 years, this is going to start to displace lower quality brands like Old Mecca and Jose Cuervo and stuff like that. And the reason being is that these will start to be sold in higher volume, the prices are going to come down. And I think as South African consumers start to become more experienced at drinking tequila, they're going to start to catch on that this is just a step up from the cheap stuff we're used to getting at the bar.
Setting the new benchmark in tequila.
No doubt about it, man.
Alright, great. Alright, so that's the Blanco. And now we move on to the Reposado.
Yeah.
If I've said it correctly.
I have no idea.
None of us are very Mexican here, but yeah.
I have no idea. We're going to do a whiskey tasting of some Japanese stuff in the future, and there's a bottle that's spelled Nikka. And you can take a shot at pronouncing that when we do that particular episode. Yeah. But for now, let's take a shot at this. You'll see. Here's the color from the barrel, as I mentioned earlier. You can see that it's gone slightly darker. It's got a nice caramel hue to it. And along with that caramel hue that gets imparted from the barrel, there should be a layer of flavor that matches it as well. So let's see if we can pick that out, Ben.
Fantastic. Let's have a smell there.
Oh, that's immediately different.
Yeah, that's a game changer completely. So
it's remarkably different.
I can smell the sweetness in here. And I don't know if it's an age process, if there's something that's been added to it that gives it that extra profile. I think in the Blanco, I could smell more of the plant.
Yeah.
In the Reposado, the syrupiness that you spoke about, when you leave it to chill a lot longer, that's what I'm getting over here. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Like right off the bat, to me, to some extent, this almost smells like Frangelico liqueur. It's somewhat nutty. It's got vanilla. There's no doubt about it. There's a big hit of vanilla. I get toffee. I get caramel. And what's happened is there's a certain element of harshness, just a tiny bit of harshness that's left in here. So you do get that beautiful, fresh, floral plant, organic plant profile, earthy plant profile from the Blanco. But that tiny bit of time in the barrel, it doesn't just pull out some of that earthy organic flavors that you get, or some of the earthy organic flavors that you get from the Blanco. Yeah. It imparts a layer of additional flavors. And for me, I definitely noticed the harshness gone just a tiny bit, and then that caramel, that toffee, that butterscotch, kind of almost tastes a little bit like candy apple. Oh, that's really nice, Ben. It's really nice. I cannot tell you how significantly different this is to that warm shot of Jose Cuervo you get from behind the bar. This is like a gentle massage. The other's like getting slapped in the back of the head by Francis Ngannou. It's light and day different.
Yeah, it's a lot smoother. So fantastic flavors in the mouth, but even once swallowing, there's a fantastic aftertaste. It's easy to consume. So yeah, gone are the days of harsh tequilas. What would you mix this with, if anything? It is a fantastic one to slowly sip, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. Would you add anything to it?
Look, as I say, I'm a huge fan of mixing tequilas into cocktails. I think it's one of the best mixes on the planet. You know, so for me, when you go to the bottle store and you pick this up for an extra $40, do yourself a favor, buy yourself a bottle of grenadine. It's that red syrup. And all you'll do is you'll mix 30 odd mils of grenadine into a glass with some orange juice, and you'll simply pour that over, and that's a tequila sunrise. And that will change your life, bro. Because you get that nice flavor profile, that full tequila flavor profile that comes through at the end. You're smelling the tequila, you're tasting it, you get that nice sweet orange flavor, you get a little bit of acidity from the orange, then the grenadine comes through and it adds a bit of sweetness. Do yourselves a favor, mix yourselves a tequila sunrise. It's one of the easiest cocktails you could possibly mix. We will be getting a mixologist on the show in the future just to help us out with a couple of cocktails. And I think one of the first ones I'm going to ask them to walk us through, simply because it's so easy, you can do it at home, it's delicious. Tequila sunrise, your guests will go mad. It makes you look like you're a much more sophisticated barman than you really are.
Fantastic. Okay, so we like that. Rooster Roco, Reposado.
Oh, so good. I had to have one more sip. That was really nice.
Okay, then we move on to the last one. So here we have an Anejo. I hope I've got that right. So the Anejo, also a little bit darker. So I understand this one has been aged in a barrel a little bit longer. I didn't know that whiskies went through a barrel aging process, much like whiskies. How long can a tequila, last in a barrel? Can we do like a 10-year tequila? Does such a thing exist?
No, they don't. You'll never get such a thing. As I've spoken about in previous shows, you get something called what I call the heave rate, and that's basically the rate at which temperature changes the barrel, and the barrel will expand and contract, the wood will expand and contract. It pulls some of the alcohol in and then pushes it back out as the temperature changes. And because the heave rate in Mexico is so high because of the temperature differences in the region, you simply cannot age tequila for that long after around 2 years. So you get 3 kinds of tequila. They're your main ones: Blanco, Reposado, Anejo. Then you get something called extra anejo, means extra aged. And what I've found often is that tequila connoisseurs start to say that after you've aged the tequila for too long, it starts to taste like rum, for example. Or so they say to keep that really true tequila flavor profile, the one that's really true to the culture of the product, to the culture of its origin, its history, and how it's been made in the past. They don't age for very long. So if you ever walk into a shop and you ask for a 10-year-old bottle of tequila, they don't exist. You're not going to get one. Just as an example, in America with bourbons, you hardly get any bourbons over the age of 10 years. Over the age of 15 or 20, they're basically unheard of. And it's got to do with the heave rate. There's a certain point at which it's peaked, the whiskey's like as good as it's going to get, or the product, in this case the tequila, is as good as it's going to get, and aging it a little bit longer is not going to help. So you can get an extra anejo bottle. It would sit somewhere down here on this end of the spectrum. If you do have an opportunity to try one, you can. It might be interesting, but in general people stick to these 3 flavor profiles, and you'll see it's obviously the darkest because it's been aged the longest.
Okay. Fantastic.
Cheers.
All right.
There's a colour.
Well, this is a bit of a deeper smell. So where it is a lot fruitier in the Reposado, the Anejo loses some of the fruitiness. I guess it's more the barrel,
100%.
the woodiness, if you will.
It's exactly what you're picking out, in my opinion, is you're picking out a profile of actually aging wood. So it has a little bit of a dustiness to it. It has a little bit, it kind of smells a little bit like an old, maybe a cricket bat, or if you're in America, an old baseball bat after you've put linseed oil, a little bit of linoleum oil on it, and you get that little bit of oily smell with the wood. So that's definitely true. You'll find here less fruity, organic, floral profile, more butterscotch, toffee, caramel, that sort of thing. And as you age a little bit longer, you pull some of those butter, toffee, caramel flavors in, and you add in a layer of woodiness. So often wine drinkers, wine connoisseurs will say, oh, there's that nice wooded oakiness in the flavor. And in our tequila right here, we're getting a nice wooded kind of oakiness with the flavor. So here, a relatively simple overall flavor profile. You've got the earthy organic flavors and the floral bouquet. here that starts to dim out a little bit. So it's still present, those flavors in here, but it's dimmed out a little bit because there's a layer of toffee, caramel, butterscotch, vanilla, etc., etc. And then with this one over here, you get a little bit of the floral bouquet on this one, a little bit of the earthiness, the fruitiness. You get a tiny bit of the butterscotch, the
caramelness, yeah.
And you get the last layer of flavor that goes over the top of those two, and that's that wooded, that kind of dusty wooded flavor that you're picking out there.
Okay, oh, fantastic. Let's give that a try.
Oh, I mean, it's just a fantastic product. It's a really, really good product. And as I say, these are now widely distributed in South Africa. You can get them at almost any bottle store. You do get better stuff. Like we will do a tasting later on in the year, like on Fortaleza. I would love to do a tasting on Herradura. It's an absolutely fantastic tequila. I've got a bottle here. I might have to pick up some of the other ones because you've got to remember almost every manufacturer is going to do the range Blanco, Reposado, Anejo, and then you get some that will do the extra Anejo, like the Milenario tequilas, and Olmeca do one. So my last disclaimer, if you're going to drink Olmeca tequila, they do one called Extra Anejo. It's called Olmeca Black. It's about 350 rand a bottle, and of all the cheaper bottles in South Africa, it's the best. So if you have to have Olmeca, find Olmeca Black.
Okay. Now this was a fantastic. This is a great beverage. Also, again, you can taste the profiles throughout. It's been a fantastic journey sampling each of the different things. But yeah, I mean, for me, what I've thoroughly enjoyed, I think my favorite one would probably be the Reposado. Slightly sweeter, more of the fruitiness coming out. And then for a once in a while, have the Anejo, which has got a bit of the woodiness. So yeah, a beautiful drink there.
Yeah, do yourselves a favor. Next time you head out to the bar, instead of smashing a shooter like you've just turned 18, why don't you order one of each from a good brand, a really nice manufacturer, and slowly sip and sip one and then move on to the next and go through a little bit of a journey, a little bit of an exploration. Try and expand the depths of your palate a little bit, try something a little bit new. It's time to change the tequila culture that we have in South Africa and just make it a little bit more sophisticated than it's been in the past. I think for guys our age, Ben, heading closer to 40 than 30.
Knocking on 40's door, yeah.
I think that's maybe a good idea for us.
100%. And again, regardless of what you're consuming and when you're consuming it, do it responsibly. Make sure that you're always safe. If you are traveling, make sure you've got a safe way to get home. But make sure that you're doing it and having a good time while you do that.
Call Uber. Don't drink and drive. Thanks for joining us. Until next time.
Cheers.